All right, guys, what's going on? Welcome in. So, Rich Cimini of ESPN just released an article over on ESPN. Man, coming out of left field, right? Early on a Saturday morning about Malachi Corley. The article's titled, Jets wide receiver Malachi Corley has lots to prove in his second year. Now, the article basically dives into Corley's career up to this point, right? Talked a little bit about him at Western Kentucky, how the Jets went about drafting him, right? Joe Douglas was 100% sold. Robert Saleh was 100% sold. And despite trading up for Corley, he just didn't really make that much of an impact last season. And you're asking the question, okay, who's to blame here for this just weird, unproductive season, right? Because it's just very strange when you hear teams like the Lions, like the Chiefs, like the Eagles, whoever it may be, when you hear about maybe like that behind the scenes, behind the curtain look, like, oh my gosh, this franchise loves this player in the draft. They're trying to make it happen. There's, talks between the GM and the head coach. They're both on board. They want to make it happen. They feel like he's a good system fit. They trade up and they do acquire that player. Most of the time, that player either works out or there's at least a plan in place for that player to learn, grow, and develop. But with this whole Corley thing, it just didn't feel like, again, there's just a lot of blame here, right? Who's the main one to blame? Is it Corley himself? Was it Robert Saleh? Was it Nathaniel Hackett and the putrid offense that we saw last season? Todd Downing? Was it Aaron Rodgers' fault? Was it Joe Douglas's fault? I mean, Douglas said that he was the fourth ranked wide receiver in the class over Keon Coleman, over Brian Thomas from Jacksonville. Coming out of LSU at the time. Brian Thomas was my third ranked wide receiver in the class last season. So like, again, whenever you just kind of have that alignment with the franchise, with prominent figures in the organization, and there's not that plan in place, it makes you ask the question, what is going on here? Now, the big thing with Corley last season was, he can't play special teams. So he wasn't listed as an active player many times throughout the season. So, I don't know if that changes this year or not, right? Obviously, Corley's dealing with an injury. He's missed a lot of time so far up through this point. And this is, where Cimini kind of dives into here with the whole Aaron Glenn aspect. It seems like the Jets are fully backing Corley, like young player. I mean, dude's entering his second year, and he's a super productive player back in college. Obviously, he has the speed, the acceleration, playmaking ability with the football in his hands to impact an NFL offense. I would really like to see Corley as a return man, just give him a shot and see what he can do. But again, as Cimini points out here, Glenn said that here's what I remember from Corley: his ability to get the ball in his hands and make something happen. When you have a player like that, the first thing you think about is screens. You think about punt return, kick return. You think about things like that. We've heard Tanner Engstrand say that he's going to have to find a way to catch himself up because he's missed so much time. And then wide receiver coach Sean Jefferson said, my old coach Bill Parcells used to say the first thing you need to be is you need to be available. He's missed some time, and there's a learning curve here, so he's in catch-up mode right now. And when Cimini first posted the article, the little maybe description that he put on Twitter was pressures on Malachi Corley after a disappointing rookie year. Roster spot is no gimme. Needs to show growth as a route runner and with his overall approach. So, man, we'll see how this whole thing plays out. It's hard to imagine the Jets cutting Corley. I understand that Darren Muji, Aaron Glenn, these guys, they didn't draft him. But, part of me is looking at Corley like, if this guy, like, I could easily see him winding up on another team somewhere and all of a sudden them cracking the code and, once Corley's healthy and he figures it out, and he's a productive player. Not saying he's going to be a top 15 guy or anything, but there are positives to Corley's game. There are things that a coach should like. Now, I think the real question is, with the Jets wide receiving core, where does he fit in? Right? Where does he fit in? You have Arian Smith kind of being the deep threat option. You have Garrett Wilson being the wide receiver 1. Then you have a bunch of, guys in that wide receiver 2 range, that Allen Lazard, Tyler Johnson, Josh Reynolds. Reynolds has turned some heads so far through camp. And then you also have the slot. Right, who's going to be the primary slot guy? Xavier Gibson is still on the team. Pritchett from South Alabama, who was brought in as an undrafted free agent. Like this wide, to me at least, this outside of Garrett Wilson, this wide receiver core is wide open. Like if you want a starting spot, it's there for the taking. And I got to be honest, I can't think of another team, another wide receiver room where, it's maybe this wide open. In other words, the path to seeing the field, even if you're buried on the depth chart today, the path to seeing the field, I would say, is a little bit more clear than the majority of teams in the NFL. I'm really having a hard time maybe pinpointing a team out there that has a unclear situation at the wide receiver room. So this has got to be the spot where, if Corley sees the field, it's got to be with the Jets. But yeah, according to Rich Cimini here, nothing is guaranteed. Again, obviously these guys didn't draft Corley here, running the show now, so we'll see what happens. Anyway, let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. Enjoy your Saturday, and as always, go Jets.